The proposed renovation to TIAA Bank Field would be the biggest public-private partnership in our city's history, and is part of a bigger vision for downtown, the riverfront, surrounding neighborhoods, and the city's future. Today, we are sitting down with Mark Lamping, the president of the Jacksonville Jaguars, to discuss that vision and what it may mean to the team and the community. Also, a new city council takes office July 1. It will be working with a new mayor and have historic opportunities and challenges. Here to discuss it is the incoming City Council President, Ron Salem. And one of our nation's newest law schools, the Jacksonville University College of Law, just completed its first year. Its founding dean, Nick Allard, looks at what's ahead. All that this week in Jacksonville. Good morning. I'm Rick Mullaney, Executive Director of the Public Policy Institute at Jacksonville University, filling in for Kent Justice today. He'll be back next week. On July 1st, the city will have a new mayor and a new city council, and one of their top priorities will be working with the Jaguars on the stadium renovation, as well as the sports complex, downtown, and the riverfront. On today's program, we're very pleased to have Mark Lamping, the president of the Jacksonville Jaguars, to discuss the stadium renovation and the vision for the surrounding property in the riverfront. Mark, welcome to the program. We're really pleased to have you here, and there's a lot of ground to cover today.
Well, it's great. Last Wednesday was a wonderful day. We started the public dialogue on this project in 2016. We've been working at it in earnest over the last 3 years, and it was great to be able to bring closure to that first phase of this process.
Well, speaking of that, Mark, big picture standpoint, how about describing, it was an exciting video that was released last Wednesday, big picture, how about describing the vision for the renovated stadium as well as for the surrounding areas?
Well, it really starts with the role that our downtown core plays. You know, the vision that we have, that many others who care about downtown share, is to have downtown become the economic engine that can generate resources to allow for investment throughout the community, particularly those underserved neighborhoods. We've seen how it works with the tremendous work that's happened in the Brooklyn neighborhood, and you see how that development is migrating to the east through La Villa. Our vision is to create a similar hub on the west, a place where people live, a place where people visit, connections in our community from the river, through the sports complex, through the out east neighborhood, obviously showcasing the stadium as part of that, but also being a 365 neighborhood. Hopefully that'll have the same impact that the development to the west has, and continue that expansion of development towards the downtown core to help us get to the point where we have a city center that's performing the way many of them do in cities similar size to ours, that is a real economic engine.
Mark, you mentioned that the centerpiece is the renovated stadium and that comprehensive vision. I do want to talk about it, but let's talk about the renovated stadium and what it looks like and what you're trying to accomplish with this stadium.
Well, the goals are pretty simple. First, you know, the stadium of the future is the stadium and the neighborhood outside. And for all the community reasons that I just mentioned, we hope that's the role. We want to squeeze every ounce of public benefit out of this program. A number of goals: long-term lease extension for the Jaguars, position the Gator Bowl to be a legitimate competitor, to be a part of the college football playoffs, secure Florida-Georgia games for years to come, have the stadium be the type of stadium that can attract major non-NFL events here to Jacksonville, and put us in a position where, you know, we can be a legitimate competitor for big NFL events like the NFL draft. It starts with our fans, giving them the best possible experience, and it transcends those benefits throughout the community.
You mentioned the fans and the best possible experience. Certainly one of the things we saw last Wednesday was some changes that are pretty dramatic. How about discussing some of those changes and what it will mean for the fan experience, particularly some covered area for how hot it can sometimes be here in Jacksonville?
Well, you know, any renovation of the stadium that does not deal with the heat issue is a total failure. You know, we have to deliver shade and cooler temperatures on every seat in that stadium. The roof is designed to do that. It's designed to cut down the amount of heat that comes in. It provides shade on all the seats. The facade that's around the stadium, that facade is almost like a material, like a sunglass material, where it's reflected from the outside, but you can see through it from the inside. That facade is lifted on both the north and south ends to catch the prevailing wind, so we get breeze through the stadium. So fan comfort is number one on the list.
Mark, when you're looking at this as far as time frame goes and cost, what is the projected cost and what are sort of the time frames, both for negotiations and construction?
Yeah, we want to try to do this in the most efficient, the least disruptive, and the least expensive way, okay? And if you do it, when you start your construction, and you do that construction continuous, it'll take about 30 months. And if you choose that approach, the cost is going to be somewhere between $1.3 and $1.4 billion, okay? But there are other ways to do it. If you choose to have the renovation extend over 4 seasons, then you can continue to play Jaguar games during that renovation. That's going to increase the cost by close to $200 million. So there's a choice to be made. You know, do you want to have the Jaguars play outside of the stadium for a couple years and then come back to a new stadium, saving the city money in the process and reducing the cost of the project? Or do you want to have all the games played in the stadium, which then would take 4 seasons and would cost a couple $100 million more?
Mark, what about the framework for discussion? We have a new mayor, of course, and a new city council starting July 1st, that discussion, but also the public discussion. And I understand there's some community events that are starting tomorrow for sort of a public dialogue about the renovation.
Yeah, really 2 things there, Rick. Part of this 3-year process, we wanted to end up with a design that we released last Wednesday. But the other piece of this was to have a document that outlines the key principles that would form the framework for the detailed negotiations to follow. We were also able to finish that part of it. And that, where we are on that project, has been handed off from the Curry administration to the Mayor Deegan transition team. Where we're going into right now is what we would describe as the public comment period. It begins tomorrow. We're going to have 14 town hall meetings throughout all of Duval County between June 12th and June 22nd. We're going to get into more detail in terms of what the stadium looks like, what the district outside the stadium looks like, get comments, answer questions, and then I know at the end of this public comment period, we'll have a better project than we do today.
You know, Mark, we're a little short on time, but there's some exciting things that are already going on that I did want you to comment on briefly. One is the Shipyards property, particularly the Four Seasons Hotel. The other is the Miller Electric Center that should be finished this summer. Can you comment on that and how it all relates together to the stadium renovation?
Yeah, there's really a 3-step vision here. The first step we are executing on right now, and that's the Four Seasons Hotel, the Four Seasons Residences, an office building, renovated marina infrastructure building, an agreement to maintain Met Park. The Jaguars will underwrite that to make sure that that park is maintained at its highest possible standard. The second is the opening of the Miller Electric Center, which will happen later this month. That was really the first step in the stadium in the future because it allowed us to get the football operations out of the stadium to allow for a renovation occurred. Now we're into the second phase, which is the stadium of the future, which is the stadium and the neighborhood outside that. And the third piece, which we think is really important, is if the University of Florida chooses the fairground site in the sports complex for their graduate campus, SHOT, in addition to already donating $5 million to that cause, will donate that 14 acres to the University of Florida to help make that possible.
Mark, I want to thank you for being with us. We're out of time for this segment today, but thank you so much for being with us. We have much more to come. The incoming City Council President, Ron Salem, joins us to discuss the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead for a new mayor and City Council. After a break on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. After the spring elections, the city will have a new mayor and 10 new council members. And one of the veteran city council members with a 4-year term under his belt is incoming council president Ron Salem. Thank you for joining us today. Councilman Salem, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me,
And
Rick.
look forward to you in July 1 becoming city council president. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about what's going on here in the city with the new mayor taking office and a lot of new city council members. I understand you had a meeting with Mayor-elect Donna Deegan. How about talking about that meeting, future council president to future mayor, and how that meeting went?
It was a great meeting. It was 2 hours. She gave me all the time that I needed to go through a number of issues. We covered them, gave her some thoughts, some ideas to think about as she transitions. And we talked about the major issues of the day, and she committed. She asked me, I want to meet with you weekly as I get into office, and I said, I think that's a wonderful idea. So there's just a lot of good dialogue right now.
You know, there are some who say that with a Republican supermajority on the city council, 14 out of the 19 and 5 Democrats, that it's going to be difficult for a Democratic mayor to get their legislation through. Do you share that view?
Well, in some of the things we talked about, such as public safety, it's very important to me that, and through Sheriff T.K. Waters, that we add police officers, and she's committed to adding police officers. So that takes an issue off the table that we may have had some discussion about. And she's got a real interest in health care, and I have a real interest in health care and have worked on health care over the last 4 years. So I think there's some synergy there between me and Mayor-elect Deegan. So I think there's some ways that we can clearly work together, and I think there's a desire to work together as much as we can.
You know, the mayor-elect likes to say that former Mayor Hazuri said there's no such thing as a Republican or Democratic pothole, and former Mayor LaGuardia of New York used to say there's no Republican or Democratic way to pick up the garbage, talking about the fact that in local government with local issues, it's often less partisan. Do you share that view, and do you think maybe we're entering into an era of collaboration, or do you think that partisanship does play a role?
Well, I think it depends on the issue. I think the council is willing to work with the new mayor on issues where we care about. And as long as, like adding police officers, she's interested in infrastructure. I'm very interested in septic tanks, and so is she. So there are some issues I think we can clearly work together on.
You know, there's been a lot of attention to the mayoral transition, maybe less to the city council transition, but there is a big city council transition with so many new members, and you're leading that group. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on how to lead and prepare this new group, this 19-member city council that takes office July 1st?
Well, Rick, that's a great question, because one of the things that I have to do is assign committees and chairs of committees, where people sit at the dais, where their offices are. Next week, we have a 3-day orientation meeting with all the new council members. You're participating in that at JU, and we appreciate that. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to get this council ready to go on July 1 so they can function appropriately, because they'll be taking votes immediately in committees and at the council level.
Well, certainly come July 1, one of the issues that will be coming up, and I expect it to play out over several months, and we just talked to the president of the Jaguars, Mark Lamping, will be the proposed stadium renovation. And as he said, the cost could be approximately $1.3 to $1.4 billion. In general, what is your view of the stadium renovation, and what about public funding for the city's portion?
Well, it was one of the issues that I've discussed with Mayor-elect Deegan in our meeting. Clearly, it's the administration's responsibility to bring a deal to the council. And we're happy to participate in that process, but if they choose to work on it themselves and then bring it to the council, that's perfectly fine with me. And then we will analyze that deal and determine if there are amendments are needed or what we need to do to make it a better deal for the citizens of Jacksonville as well as the Jaguars. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I love the Jaguars. I want a deal, but it's got to be a deal that makes sense for the taxpayers as well as the revenue that's generated through the city.
And certainly, in addition to the Jaguars and the stadium renovation, certainly come July 1, one of the big priorities will be the budget. On July 17th, the mayor-elect will be giving a budget address. By September 30th, the council will have to have approved the budget. What are some of your top concerns or areas of priority for that budget, and do you anticipate there'll be disagreement on budget areas?
Well, I don't see a great deal of change in this particular budget because there's such a short period of time to put it together. One of the things that I'll be talking about in my installation address in a week or two is the need for a new jail. I think our jail is over 30 years old, and it's not in a good condition presently, and we need to have a discussion in the community about a new jail. And I'll be setting up a process where we can have that public discussion involving the public defender, the courts, the state attorney, the clerk of the court, bringing all the people together and trying to figure out where we move it, what services are provided, mental health, health care, et cetera, in order to we can begin the process of hopefully building a new jail at some point in the future.
Big item, and I know it's really early, but do you have any sense on costs or what the projected cost might be for both the moving and the creation of the establishment of a new jail?
I don't at this point. We've just begun to look at hiring a consultant that will aid us in that process, so I really have no idea. I think it depends a great deal on where we put it. There's been discussion of the prison farm way out on the north side, potentially Cecil Field, so a lot of it depends upon where we locate it.
Well, we're a little short on time, but I didn't want to conclude without having an opportunity for you to talk a little bit about, as you look to the next year, your year as council president, what do you think are some of your greatest maybe challenges and opportunities as the incoming council president?
Well, it's very important to me on the new council members and making sure that I'm helping them achieve their goals as the president and making sure that they're heard. That's priority number one for me. And because I remember being new 4 years ago, and I was aided by the council president, and I want to serve that same role to these men and women as they come on board.
Well, we're out of time for the segment. Thank you so much for being with us. We really do appreciate it. Still to come, we take a look at the Jacksonville University College of Law and what it means to the students, the city, and the future as the founding dean joins us. That's after the break on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. Until last year, Jacksonville was the largest metropolitan area in the nation without a law school. The Jacksonville University College of Law opened its doors last year and is now one of our nation's newest law schools. Here to discuss it is the founding dean of the law school, Nick Allard. Welcome to the program, and thanks so much for being with us, Nick.
What a pleasure, Rick, to be here.
Nick, I got to say this. You went to Princeton for undergraduate school, went to Oxford for your Rhodes Scholarship, went to Yale Law School, partner in New York and Washington firms, and former dean of the Brooklyn College of Law. What prompted you? Why did you want to become the founding dean of the College of Law here at Jacksonville University?
Well, it was an irresistible opportunity, really. And unlike Rick Blaine in Casablanca, I didn't come here for the waters, although they're appealing. The preparation and foundation that President Tim Cost and the university and the community and the legal bench and bar have put in have made a strong platform for us to be successful. Success is our only option. And the demand is great. The support from the bench and bar, especially in this first year, have been phenomenal.
Nick, I want to talk a little bit about what this law school means to Jacksonville. Your thoughts on why a law school in Jacksonville, and what do you think it means to Jacksonville in its future?
Well, Rick, as you know, this is the largest city in the United States without its own law school. Jacksonville needs and deserves its own law school to feed and create and support the legal infrastructure, and having a law school is an important part of the infrastructure of a vibrant city to support economic growth and opportunity, economic justice, and the well-being of its people. And that's what we're doing.
Well, you know, you just finished your first year. And how about, and I know you've been very, very pleased with this first year, you're looking forward to number two, but how about telling us a little bit about that first year, how it went, and maybe how the College of Law at Jacksonville University is a little bit different from other law schools?
Well, you know, I gave up bragging for Lent, but Lent's over, so forgive me if I get a little carried away. It's hard to curb my enthusiasm. We had very high expectations for the school, given the support and the enthusiasm, and our expectations have been exceeded. So in every category that you would want, the students have succeeded. They all have summer jobs. This is really unusual. Every single one of our students has completed the first year with flying colors. They're with us, and we're looking forward to them returning. And so everything has been going tremendously well. We're just very, very happy with the results across the board. We're getting ready for our second year. And it's hard to believe after the long days and short months that we're already through our first year.
Nick, can you talk a little bit about the student experience and what's been different at this College of Law, as well as the downtown location and your search for a permanent location downtown?
Well, we're going to be downtown, just to start with that in reverse order, and we're going to be part of what is very exciting. A lot of big news about the Jags, for example, and about another university moving in downtown. These are the signs of a vibrant, great city to have that kind of, and we're going to be part of that. So we're going to be moving very soon into our permanent location downtown, even closer to the courthouses than we are now. We are going to be focused on the accreditation process, which is very complicated. We announced as early as we possibly could that we were seeking accreditation with the ABA, American Bar Association. We're working hard throughout the summer. So welcoming our new students, getting through as promptly as possible the very arduous accreditation process, which I believe we have well in hand. I'm not permitted to suggest that we have accreditation yet or give anybody any false impression, but I'm very confident that we have that well in hand with the support of the university. And our university, by the way, has been incredibly successful in numerous new programs successfully launching and becoming accredited, without exception, in fact.
Nick, and this will be sort of our last question for today, but as you look to the second year and you look to the future, how about painting a picture of your vision for this law school and some of the things you're looking for in year number 2?
Well, what a great final question. Our vision is simply this, just to boil it all. We want, when people meet the graduates of our law school, for them to smile and have admiration for the quality of their work, but also for their professionalism and ethics, values, and service to the community. We're determined to return the investment that this great city has made to us with interest on an ongoing basis. And I'll just add that, as you know, Rick, and you attended this program, we just had a multi-million-dollar gift to endow the deanship in the name of honoring Randall C. Berg. Gilchrist Berg has made a very generous multi-million-dollar contribution to do that. That's the kind of support we're having, but the most significant aspect of it is that anyone who knows, and I hope from now on they're going to remember a lot more, Randall C. Berg Jr.'s career in law. He was the epitome of service, justice, and access to civil rights and affordable legal representation. So we're very proud to have that distinction.
Nick, thanks you so much for being
Thank
with us
you.
today. This Week in Jacksonville airs each Sunday morning at this time. Kent Justice will be back with you next week. I'm Rick Mullaney, the Executive Director of the Public Policy Institute at Jacksonville University. Thanks for spending this past half hour with me. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday.
See why every day more people are choosing News 4 Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.